Today, I want to talk to you about something that nobody in the financial world wants to discuss honestly. We spend all our time talking about how to get rich, how to pick stocks, how to build portfolios. But we never talk about the hardest problem in economics. How do you escape low income? How do you climb out of the hole when the walls are slippery and the ladder is broken? I have watched this problem for 90 years. I have seen brilliant people stay poor their entire lives. I have seen lazy people become wealthy. And I have come to one conclusion. Low income is not a financial problem. It is a physics problem. It is a system. It is a machine designed to keep you exactly where you are. And unless you understand the machine, you will spend your whole life pulling levers that do nothing. Think of it like quicksand. The harder you struggle, the deeper you sink. The working class is told a lie. They are told that if they just work harder, if they just put in more hours, if they just save a few more dollars, they will eventually climb out. But that is not how quicksand works, and that is not how poverty works. You do not escape by struggling. You escape by understanding the structure of the trap. In this video, I am going to walk you through 5 specific mechanisms that keep low-income people trapped. I am going to show you the invisible walls, and then I am going to give you the blueprint, the exact sequence of moves that I would make if I woke up tomorrow with nothing in my pocket and had to start over at the bottom. Let us begin. The first thing you need to understand is that poverty is not an absence, it is a presence. Most people think of being poor as not having something, not having money, not having opportunity, not having connections, but that is the wrong way to look at it. Poverty is not a vacuum, it is a force. It is something that actively pushes against you every single day of your life. Let me give you an example. Imagine 2 men walking to work. One man is rich, the other man is poor. They are walking the same distance on the same sidewalk. But the rich man is walking with a gentle breeze at his back, and the poor man is walking into a headwind. They both arrive at work exhausted, but the poor man burned 3 times the energy to cover the same ground. At the end of a year, the rich man has energy left over to build something. The poor man collapses into bed. This is the invisible cage. The bars are made of headwinds, late fees, overdraft charges, high interest rates, expensive repairs on cheap cars, medical bills from postponed checkups. Every single one of these is a small charge, a tiny tax on being poor. Individually, they look like nothing. Collectively, they form a cage that is almost impossible to escape. I once knew a man who worked at a factory in Omaha. He made a reasonable wage, not great, but reasonable, and yet every December he was broke. I asked him why. He showed me his receipts. He was paying a check cashing fee because he did not have a bank account. He was paying rent-to-own prices on his furniture. He was paying 24% interest on a used car. He was buying groceries at a corner store instead of a supermarket because he had no car on weekends. He was paying the poverty tax, and the poverty tax was eating him alive. The first rule of escape is this: you must see the cage before you can break it. Most people never see it. They blame themselves. They say, "I am just bad with money. I am just unlucky." No, you are being charged a premium for your position, and until you recognize that premium and refuse to pay it, you will never get out. Now let me tell you something that took me a long time to learn. The worst part of being poor is not what it does to your wallet, it is what it does to your mind. There was a study done a few years ago at Princeton. Researchers found that when a person is under severe financial stress, their cognitive performance drops by the equivalent of 13 IQ points. 13 points. That is the difference between a sharp executive and an average worker. Poverty literally makes you dumber. Not because you were born dumb, but because your brain is running an emergency program 24 hours a day. Think about it. When you are worried about whether you can pay the rent next week, can you really focus on learning a new skill? When you are wondering if your car will start tomorrow morning, can you really plan for retirement in 30 years? No. Your brain is a survival machine, and when it is in survival mode, it shuts down every function that does not help you survive the next 72 hours. Long-term planning disappears. Patience disappears. Creativity disappears. You become reactive. You become impulsive. You become exactly the kind of person who cannot escape poverty. This is what I call the mind tax, and it is the cruelest tax of all, because it means the people who need the most mental bandwidth to solve their problems have the least amount available. The rich get to think about strategy. The poor can only think about survival. So how do you fight the mind tax? You build a buffer. And I do not mean a retirement account. I do not mean an investment portfolio. I mean a simple emergency fund. $1,000, maybe $2,000, sitting in a boring savings account that you never touch. This is not wealth. This is not an investment. This is something far more valuable. This is oxygen for your brain. When you have that buffer, something magical happens. The car breaks down, and it is annoying but not catastrophic. The medical bill arrives, and you pay it instead of panicking. Your mind quiets down. The emergency program shuts off, and suddenly you can think again. You can plan. You can learn. You can see past the end of the week. Before you invest a single dollar in the stock market, before you start any business, before you try any get-rich scheme, you must build this buffer. It is not optional. It is the foundation. And without it, everything else you build will collapse the moment life hits you in the face. Now we come to something uncomfortable, and I want you to listen carefully because this part is going to sting a little. Most low-income people are not kept poor by their expenses. They are kept poor by their comforts. Let me explain. When your life is hard, your brain desperately wants relief. It wants a small reward. It wants something nice at the end of a long day. And the modern economy is perfectly designed to sell you that small reward. The fast food dinner, the streaming subscription, the new phone on a payment plan, the lottery ticket, the name brand sneakers. Each one is a tiny dose of relief in a painful life. And I am not going to stand here and judge anyone for wanting relief. Pain is real. The desire for comfort is real. But here is the trap. These comforts are not free, and they are not even cheap when you add them up. The average low-income household in America spends several $1,000s a year on small comforts, things that bring 10 minutes of pleasure and zero long-term value. Over 10 years, that is tens of thousands of dollars. Over a lifetime, that is hundreds of thousands. That is the difference between dying poor and dying free. I am not telling you to live like a monk forever. I am telling you something more important. For a short period of your life, maybe 1 year, maybe 2, you must declare war on comfort. You must treat every dollar of comfort spending as an enemy, not because comfort is bad, but because you are in a war for your future and you cannot afford to give supplies to the enemy. The rich understand this. They spend their early years living far below their means, not because they are cheap, but because they know that every dollar saved today is a soldier in the army they are building. Every dollar spent on comfort is a soldier who deserts. You need every soldier you have. When you escape the comfort prison, you discover something strange. You do not miss the comforts as much as you thought you would. The new phone did not actually make you happy. The fast food did not actually satisfy you. What made you happy was the 10 seconds of anticipation before you bought it. And you can get that feeling somewhere else. You can get it from watching your savings grow. You can get it from learning a new skill. You can get it from seeing your plan work. Now let us talk about income, because eventually cutting expenses has a floor. You cannot spend less than zero. But income has no ceiling, and this is where most low-income people get stuck. They think income is about hours. They think if they work more hours, they will make more money. And in the short term, they are right. But in the long term, they are building a prison. Here is the truth. There are two kinds of income in the world. There is income you get for your time, and there is income you get for your value. A dishwasher gets paid for his time. A brain surgeon gets paid for his value. The dishwasher can work 80 hours a week and still be poor. The brain surgeon can work 10 hours a week and be rich. The difference is not effort. The difference is leverage. To escape low income, you must climb the value ladder. And climbing the value ladder requires one thing above all others: skills that other people cannot easily provide. If your job can be done by any person off the street with one day of training, you will never escape low income. That is not cruelty, that is supply and demand. When your skill is common, your price is low. So the question becomes, how do you build rare skills when you are already exhausted from working two jobs? The answer is that you must steal time from your comforts and invest it in your mind. Those 2 hours you used to spend watching television, those Saturday mornings you used to spend sleeping, those lunch breaks you used to spend scrolling your phone, those are your capital. Those are the only capital you have, and you must invest them ruthlessly. Pick one skill that the market pays for: writing, coding, sales, plumbing, accounting, whichever one interests you, and then go deep. Spend a year becoming better at that one thing than 90% of the people who do it. The internet has made this almost free. Every skill in the world can be learned from a library card and a cheap laptop. The people who do not learn are the people who choose comfort over growth. And here is the secret that nobody tells you. Once you get good at one valuable skill, your income does not increase linearly. It increases in jumps. You go from $10 an hour to 15, then to 25, then to 40, then suddenly to something that would have seemed impossible a few years ago. Because rare skills compound in value. The market rewards rarity exponentially. And now we come to the final mechanism, the one that actually lets you leave the cage forever. I call it escape velocity. In rocket science, escape velocity is the speed you must reach to break free of a planet's gravity. If you go slower, gravity pulls you back down no matter how hard you try. You must hit a specific number, and only then do you break free. Personal finance works the same way. There is a specific point at which your money starts working harder than you do. Before that point, every dollar you earn must be fought for. After that point, money begins generating more money on its own. The gravity weakens, the pull of poverty loosens, and for the first time in your life, you can rest without falling backward. How do you reach escape velocity? You do it by owning things that pay you, not things that cost you. A car is not an asset. A car takes money out of your pocket every month. A share of a good business is an asset. It puts money into your pocket every month. A designer handbag is a liability. A rental property is an asset. The difference between the poor and the wealthy is not how much they earn, it is what they own. Start small. $10 a week into an index fund. $20 a week if you can. It will feel pointless at first. You will look at your account after a year and see a few $100s and feel foolish. Do not stop, because something strange happens around year 5. The account starts growing by itself. The dividends start buying more shares. The shares start producing more dividends. The snowball that took years to pack starts rolling down the hill on its own. And by year 10, year 15, year 20, you are no longer pushing. You are riding. This is escape velocity. The moment your assets generate enough income to cover your basic needs. You do not have to be a millionaire to reach it. You just have to live below your means and own productive assets for long enough. Most people never get there because they quit in year 2. They look at the small numbers and decide it is not working. But the math is working. The math is always working. You just cannot see it yet. Let me leave you with this. The system is not fair. The game is rigged in favor of those who already have capital. I will not pretend otherwise. But the game is also not closed. There is a door. It has always been there. And the door opens for anyone who is willing to think long-term in a world that thinks short-term. Anyone who is willing to delay gratification in a world addicted to it. Anyone who is willing to own instead of consume. Poverty is a cage, but the lock is on the inside. You can walk out the moment you understand how the mechanism works. It will take years. It will take discipline. It will take sacrifices that nobody around you will understand. But at the end of that road is something worth more than money. Freedom. Dignity. The quiet satisfaction of a life that is truly your own. That is all. Thanks for watching.